Hi. I hope you guys are enjoying this second new moon, full moon, full moon of the month. Third day of feeling good, so I'm really happy about that. Quick Bumble update. Successful date, I think. I had mentioned it before about MJ. I think I might have mentioned it, or maybe I just thought I mentioned it. MJ had predicted that I was going to meet somebody who was also high vibe, who the universe was bringing in because of, at that time, I had made the choice of moving on. And I think this was like earlier this week. And she mentioned that this person was also getting out of a certain situation, and that we would just connect. And I mean, we definitely connected via text. I can feel the energy coming through. Like, it was just so nice, how in sync we were. And so we met up for a hike, and it was nice. It was really nice. It really just flowed nicely. It was, the conversation was great. He's definitely someone I consider to be part of my soul tribe, because we just had so many similarities, not just in our personal situations, but just in our core beliefs and just how we view the world and ourselves in it. So it was just really nice to be able to share that with someone, and not have to feel like I'm forcing a conversation, like it was just nice. And so successful in that, I definitely believe this person is going to be in my life long term. And so yeah, so I consider that a success. But anyways, I've added a link below if you're curious about soul tribes. I came across someone who, I mean, initially it was this whole concept and belief of like, oh, you have one soulmate. But no, and I think I've mentioned it before. So we have soul tribes, and people, you can have a soulmate who is a family member or a good friend. And so I've added a few links of just someone who I came across who I felt explained it, and there was visuals. I'm very visual, so I really appreciate like the charts and stuff. So I'll put that if you guys are wanting more information. And I'm definitely not the person to explain it, but just connecting to the people who can explain it better than me. But other than that, today was felt good. It definitely felt good, and there were moments of sadness. I drove around, and there was a parade of Trump supporters, and I'm not for or against. That's not something that I'm going to focus on. But it was sad to see how people were treating each other. I think not that the Trump supporters were treating other people. I think it was just equally how the supporters and non-supporters were just treating each other. That was really heartbreaking to see down my street, like it not that far away from here. And I don't watch the news. I don't watch it for a reason. But to just kind of see that, and it's heartbreaking. It really is, at how we're treating each other, and I really it just I wrote down my thoughts because I forget them as they come up, but this was definitely a topic I wanted to touch on. Just again, the polarity amongst us, not just in the world with the news that we hear, but just even down the street in my community, and even within our own organizations. the different places that we belong to, there's polarity in that. Like even this whole spiritual, oh, I'm seeing the balance. This whole spiritual awakening experience for me personally, right? I've mentioned it before, just noticing through other people's websites, or just, you know, by the validation of people sharing with me their experiences with other people who've gone through that process. There's this sense of polarity even with that experience of those who have awakened, right, and those who haven't. And so it's this us versus them, you know, wherever, and you put yourself wherever you are in that perspective or that situation. But it just, and again, even in all of these areas, in all of these categories, you know, if we stop and think about it, even within ourselves, the things that we fight for, the values and beliefs that we hold on to, right? We fight for them out of a place of passion, out of a place of strong beliefs. And it's just how that is communicated, right? How that is, how it's communicated, right? That really speaks. You know, actions speak louder than words. There's so much truth to that. And just, you know, I'm just continuously learning how important it is to strike that balance, right? Within us, right? Within ourselves, to start, you know, I mean, you guys, if you've seen some of the old videos, I experienced it, you know, where I had all those psychosomatic symptoms. I gave myself that, you know, and so, you know, it's our bodies will tell us, our bodies will show us through the illnesses, through the stressors, you know, where you hold on to the stress, right? When you stop and think, and sometimes we've been in this go, 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 go mentality in life that, you know, we push through sometimes the discomfort and the pain that our body is literally trying to scream at us like, hey, wake up, there's something off in you. And we don't take the time to listen to our bodies. You know, we think we're invincible. And, you know, I think I started asking myself, like, why is it so hard for us to trust our bodies? Why is it so hard for us to trust our intuition, right? Or our heart? Why do we judge, you know, and question it, you know, why? And it reminded me, you know, of that in some religious groups, there's this polarity that exists with that exact thing of just separation within ourselves, between our intuition versus what others perceive to be the Holy Spirit, right, within us, versus our mind versus our heart, our logic versus love. And so I was just wondering, like, why do we question it? Why do we not trust it, you know? And I mean, there's reasons for it, right? I mean, we can definitely sway one way or another. I think that's the issue, is that we tend to either be more logical than in our heart space, or we tend to do too much out of love, that then it becomes, you know, teetering codependency type of stuff, you know, or sometimes we go with our intuition and our gut instinct, our bodily, you know, like our, what is it in the Bible, how it's talked about, what is it, our carnal self, you know, versus the spiritual self, you know. I just, again, I think it's all about balance. It's all about balance. And I think, I feel like we've lost that. I feel like, I mean, I'm struggling with it every day, you know, with just, how do I balance my time during the day, right? And I don't have kids. I mean, I can only imagine, and I've just witnessed it with my loved ones and their children, how they're also go, go, go. I mean, kids bring you to the present, you know? And even as a parent, you question yourself, you question your choices, because you know that one mistake might alter their life, you know, and there's this concept of, well, there's no parenting guidebook. Right, there is no parenting guidebook for your child. Your child is unique, you know, and so, but there are typical books, right? Parenting books that are out there, you know, who has the time to read them? Who, you know, and those of you who make the time, that's awesome, because it really is about making time. But anyways, I'm swirling again. I think just what I'm learning is again, the need to strike a balance within. But in order to do that, I think we really need to take a step back and let go of being right. Let go of being right. Because we really need to find a way to blend both, right? Our heart space and our mind space. You know, just like John Mayer put it. I listened to the song today. I'm telling you, like, the messages in the song are crazy. And I quote John Mayer, we are living in a heartbreak warfare. But yeah, I mean, just, that's been on my mind all day today. It really has been. And so I just want to ask us, you know, as society, is just like, what would that look like if we combined that, if we balanced that, you know, all those topics, you know, within ourselves, within our community? What would that look like? And I know sometimes it's hard to kind of see within the community, but bringing it back closer to something we can control even more is like, what would that look like for you? You know, what is that looking like for me here as I'm experiencing this? You know, if we are feeling unbalanced, what would need to change in our lives to be balanced? You know, and I really want to invite all of you. You know, I mean, all of this kind of came to me in a moment of silence. I wasn't meditating. I actually took a bath. I did a little self-care today. I hadn't taken a bath since I first moved in, and so it was definitely due time for that self-care again. And I took a bath and just kind of put relaxing music on, and just kind of thought about it, and really, you know, reflected on the day. And so I just invite you to find a place. And I know those of you that might have kids, it's like, well, where are you going to find a quiet place, right? You know, if you're on your way to the grocery store and you left the kids at home, like, just sit in your car for a little bit, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you're on the toilet, you know, instead of like checking your phone, just sit in the moment. And just think about, like, what would you need to let go of to find balance? And I'm using that let go of because if I say, what do you need? My colleague worded it so beautifully in that presentation about this lack mind mentality, right? If we say, what do we need? It's because we lack something. But if we look around us, we're pretty fortunate. We're pretty fortunate living here. Most of us, you know, where we have electricity, you know, we have paved roads. So really reframing that question and asking ourselves, what do we need to let go of to feel balanced? I think of that Libra scale, and I'm going to refer to it as a Libra scale because that was where I drew the inspiration from. You know, if you look at the scale, if it's off balance, it's because one side has more of something. And so what do we need to let go of, whether it's to kind of put it on that side or just kind of throw it out to balance those scales. And so even going back to this whole spiritual awakening experience, right? I'm learning about how the message, whatever message is being conveyed, I mean, again, everything comes from a place of passion, but just in basic communication skills, right? I mean, when you go to therapy, we talk about communication skills, and we talk about the nonverbal and the verbal communication. And I remember reading somewhere about how 60 to 80%, and I could totally be off in terms of the percentages, but 60 to 80% of the communication is focused on the how it's communicated. So we're talking nonverbal communication, how I'm communicating with my body, my tone of voice, my body language, my eye contact, all of that is how, nonverbal communication. And then the rest of it, whether, I don't know, I'm doing the math, 40, 30? 40 to 20% is the actual what, right? I know I said earlier, actions speak louder than words. So how you communicate the message is extremely important. Any message for that point, you know, and so we have to remember that we're people. We're people. I'm an individual. You know, I'm not perfect. I get offended. I can be really mean and direct sometimes and cold and hurt people's feelings unintentionally. I'm being more aware of it. Payu. But just even again, just the power of the mind, right? Like how these past few months has been such an emotional wreck, right? I've just longed for the moment of feeling normal, of feeling comfort, of feeling stability, of feeling a little bit of like my old self again. Like I've been longing for that, and to have like 3 days in a row where I feel good, like that's just, I'm so grateful for that, you know. And so just because I'm going through this spiritual awakening, it doesn't separate me from any one of you guys. It just, you know, there's still that part of me that just wants to be able to do life in a good way, and to love in a good way, and to be fair in a good way. And but it just, again, it just reminds me of the power of our mind, and how you know, again, I have that background in behavior and psychology, clinical social work, and trauma has really been a strength of mine, you know, in terms of working with my clients, the kiddos and their families, you know, who've struggled with trauma. And there's, you know, when someone experiences some type of trauma that's a little too much for the psyche to handle, for us to, in other words, like if it was too much for us to handle, I'm just gonna leave it at that, too much for us to handle, there's something called dissociation, where our alertness gets kind of blocked off, and separates for that process or that time frame of that trauma, because it's just too much. And it does it as a way to protect itself, really. You know, and sometimes, like in car accidents, you'll get people that don't remember the details. Well, it's because it's so traumatic that, you know, your body just knows when to take care of itself, right? Or how to take care of itself. And our mind will do that to protect itself. It recognizes this is too much to process right now, so I'm going to, you know, cut that off until you're ready to process it. You know, with psychoanalysis, there's the defense mechanisms, right? When we're in denial of something, or when we're projecting on someone else, like all of these things are there to protect the ego, because it's something that's too much. Pema, oh, the book's over here. I think I mentioned it before, that circle thing that Pema talked about in terms of the comfort zones, and how important it was for us to be on the comfort zone, right? So this was by Lev Vygotsky in the 1930s, where it really breaks down, you know, the comfort zone, and the learning zone, and then the excessive risk zone. So it reminded me of trauma, and just how she talked about how even with meditation, right? The experiences they have, if it's too intense, there's people who walk away and say, I'm never gonna do this again, right? And the reality is that, you know, we're stuck in our comfort zone. And so when there's change, it's scary. It's super scary. So how a message is delivered is so important, right? You don't, in therapy, we don't push the trauma. We don't push the kiddos. or anybody to process the trauma until they're ready. And we're just there with them. You know, we're trying to help them maybe process it in an unthreatening way, in whether it's through sand tray work or just other nonverbal techniques, you know. And so that's what we do. That's how we help them process. And so when we look at just what's going on with COVID and our earth, you know, I mean, for those of you that believe in God, I feel like God's just fed up. God's just fed up with us because, you know, he gave us a responsibility. He gave us the responsibility to name the animals, to care for this earth, to care for the land, and look at what we've done as a society. And it's not a blaming game of, oh, well, they did this. It's like, no. It starts within ourselves, right? Taking ownership for the little things. It's like a ripple effect, right? You know, like what have we, and owning that, like what have we contributed to this larger picture? Those of you that don't believe in God, it's just like Earth is fed up, right? It reminds me of, what's that movie? The Happening, where I don't know if you guys have watched it. From Mr. Gosh, what is his name? Shamalak? The one who did The Sixth Sense. He made that movie, The Happening, where there was like a kind of also like some type of bug, right, that would make people go crazy. I mean, a little extreme there, but I mean, it's not far-fetched, I think. I mean, if we look at nature and just how naturally like things just balance themselves out. There's a purpose in every living thing, and it's just you know, or those of you that believe in the Big Bang Theory, not the show, but the actual, you know, how things just kind of came about, and there's a need for balance in all things, not just us as in human beings, but in nature and earth. That concept of the survival of the fittest, right? And really, ultimately, the people and the living beings that will survive are the ones that are most adaptive to change, the ones that are more receptive to change. And so if change is something that we fear, right, what do we need to do to get comfortable with change, right? What baby steps do we need to take? And so I guess the question is, what changes need to occur during this COVID time? What changes, you know, we've had people that are working from home, or working from home, or weren't working from home. They were just kind of at home because they didn't have a job to go to. And so, you know, Christina Lopes highlighted this for me, and I'll share a link a little bit more as well, in terms of where it was highlighted it for me, where she highlighted it. Highlighted it? Where it was highlighted. About this concept of, you know, we're brought home, and home was where the wife's domain was, right? You know, we've had to adjust to balancing, you know, for those that continue to work remotely, okay, how am I going to balance my work, you know, life and my home life, right? Whereas before it was separated. I would leave home issues at home, and I would stay at work, and then when I leave work at work, and then I come home and address home. Now it's being forced for us to figure that out. And it's been challenging, you know, it's a learning curve. It's having to, you know, at the same time having to rely maybe on your partner for certain things that you didn't have to rely on before, because those were things that you relied on the community for, right? Teachers, daycare providers, and now parents are being teachers as well. I mean, wow, talk about a learning curve, right? All the while trying to stay safe in this environment. So what is the change, right, that is needed to create this balance that we all long for? And even though, you know, we look at the news and we look at our community, and we're just one person, right? We're just one. We can't change other people, but You can change yourself. I can change me, and I think that's where it starts. It starts with me. It starts with you. It starts with that change within, finding the balance within. And for some people, that change might be do one thing that scares you every day. Eleanor Roosevelt. Do one thing every day that scares you. Maybe it's that, right? You do one thing that scares you and then come back to your comfort zone. Or it could be confronting your shadow self. I think I've talked about that, right? The parts of you that you fear others will see because of the fear that you'll be rejected or not loved or pushed away. Whatever that may be for you, I invite you to consider it. That's it. Just consider it. Because once that decision is made, once the desire to find that balance within occurs, only then will you be able to, well, we, because I'm in it too, only then will we be able to extend that to others, right? That whole concept that, again, I drew from Miss Pema, Chodron. I need to look up her last name. I want to learn how to pronounce it. What is it that I wrote down? I will work on my own healing for you, whatever that may look like. Yeah. Yeah. That was it. So I've been really focused on my balance. I've been seeing balance, like I mentioned, a lot. I'm actually wearing my Star Wars jogger PJs on because I learned that The Mandalorian is back. And quick UB fact, I really have a soft spot for sci-fi, and so I'm excited that that's back, and I haven't had a chance to really make the time to watch an episode, but that's on my list of things to do this weekend. So yeah, that's me just trying to find a balance in this world. I hope you do too.